I was talking to a guy one time. It was through one of the dating apps, and we hadn't got to the point yet like that we're going to share deep, dark secrets, right? And so I had never said anything yet. We were just chatting and getting to know each other a little bit. Well, then the show was advertised because it was about to start airing for that season. Must have been last season. And he sent me a message. He's like, so I'm all about honesty, and I just need to just be upfront with you. I saw this advertisement for the show, and you're on it. And so he's like, I can't, I'm not interested, basically. Like, he was very kind, and he was very respectful, but he was just like, nope, not interested, with your religious background and stuff. I'm just not. Hi, besties. Welcome back to my channel. It's Kody. So Meri Brown sat down on an interview for a podcast called I Do Part with TJ Holmes and Amy Robach, and they are formerly from a morning show where they were co-hosts, and then they were fired because people found out they were in a relationship, and they were both in marriages at the time. And anyway, their careers blew up, and now they are on a podcast. I Do Part. They interviewed Meri Brown about her time on Sister Wives, her life dating, what life is like now from leaving polygamy. And they actually really did go there in a lot of different areas when it came to, Meri leaving Kody, Meri leaving her religion, and Meri dating today. And one detail that Meri brought up in her interview is that she admitted that she was in a cult. And she admitted that she was married to Kody because she believed that she had to be married to him to get to the celestial kingdom, and that she was taught from a young age that this was the only way that she could get to heaven. And Meri admitted, even more importantly, that she had been questioning her faith since before the show ever started, which is, similarly, in line to a lot of what we've heard from Christine, where they were saying things on the show that they didn't even necessarily believe, and doing it because of promoting polygamy, even though behind the scenes they didn't believe in what they were saying, and they were making it look like polygamy was this happy thing, when the reality is what they were pontificating and promoting and advocating for they couldn't handle or appreciate or believe themselves, and they didn't like. So on the show, they were promoting polygamy as it's not like Warren Jeffs. Women have a choice. We're not here because of religion. Well, we're here because it's our faith, but we're not here solely because of religion. And we're doing this out of a choice. And we're not a cult. We are loving families, and this isn't bad, right? And that, it's everyone needs to just accept us because this is what we want. But privately, Meri, in this interview, discussed that prior to the show starting, she had began questioning her faith, and they asked her why she was questioning her faith. And she stated that it was because every time something happened in this group, she was wrong for it. All of it. Yeah, I think any structured religion is very cult-like. And what was the point in which you said I want out? It was gradual for me. It was really gradual. I think that it was even before we moved to Las Vegas, like even, maybe around the time that we're talking about doing the show, I think that I found myself questioning, but I never talked to anybody about it. I never talked to Kody about it. I didn't talk to my sis or eyes about it. It was just something that I was processing within myself because there were so many things up until that point in my life that I was always wrong for. I was wrong for how I handled marriage. I was wrong for, my body was wrong for not being able to have more babies. I was wrong when I would have jealousy issues with, when wives would come into the family. And now I'm questioning my religion. So you can bet I'm not talking to anybody about it because I'm also going to be wrong for that. I just want to pause here because I want to recognize and honor what she says and give this to you in the only way that I can think possible that honors what she's gone through and is respectful to what she's gone through and really highlights how damaging this show was for her personally, publicly, and the damage that it's probably done to her emotionally. Because what she says there, I think a lot of us could probably resonate with. I know that I can. I grew up Catholic, and I know this is not everyone's experience growing up Catholic, but I was in an environment where I was always blamed for everything. It was always my fault. If something happened, it was I'd done something to upset God. There was a lot of fear in my home. There was a lot of guilt and shame that was, laid on my feet as a child that made me feel like I was less than, if I couldn't add up or I wasn't doing something right. There was always this underlying you're the problem, and it eroded my self-esteem. And it took me years to walk away from the faith. It took me years to walk away from the family that put that into me, indoctrinated me into that. And I thank you. When you're born into something and everyone around you is doing it, and you are pushing up against the grain, and you have a personality that is inquisitive and questioning, and you don't fit the mold of what is expected of you, the only way that they can keep you in that system is to destroy your self-esteem, destroy your self-worth, erode your self-confidence, make you feel like it's your fault, and that if you only act better, do better, and are better, then things will get better. But then also teach you that part of the journey in the world is that all of this suffering that you're going through, because of it is for the greater good, because you'll have better blessings in heaven. If you're more humble, if you'll sacrifice more, if you humble yourself and you stop acting selfishly and you submit and obey, everything will be better. And then one day you realize it's not, and you get tired of getting blamed. And I just want to recognize something from her perspective and just honor it. Because I think a lot of people come down on Meri, and I think a lot of people, even I have criticized her. And I think one of the really damaging parts of this show that I don't know that the women even can recognize yet, and maybe they do, is that. Because they sat up there and lied to themselves and then lied to the world about what was going on in their lives. It created a visceral reaction from us where we started judging them because they were lying, right? And we judged them because we believed that they were being stupid, and it was ridiculous that they were fighting over the sky. And they were, can't you see that he's just a jerk? And can't you see that this is unfair and that you deserve more? But then that indoctrination keeps them in a situation that if they weren't going to speak out to anyone in their family, they would just get gaslit and manipulated. Anytime Meri tried to spread her wings and become more independent, she was constantly gaslit by Robin that, don't go to college cause then you're abandoning me. Don't do this because then you're giving up on me. I only want to do this family because of you. Everyone was doing it to her. Kody would play games with her back and forth, and then she has the guilt of the cult on her. So I just think that the show has done a disservice to the women, because had they grown up in an environment where they didn't have those kind of strangleholds on them that had beaten them down and knocked them into submission and told them not to educate themselves and that they didn't need to be educated or have anything beyond being a mom and a wife, they could have accomplished their goals outside of what their faith told them that they were to be. She was shamed because she could only have one child. She's told that she has to be okay with her husband having sex with other women. She's told that if she's jealous because her husband has sex with other women, that she's the problem, not him. She's the one that needs to manage her emotions about what he's doing. Because God damn it, she was supposed to do this to get into heaven. And if she can't handle it, then she's not doing it well enough, and that it's her place, and it's wrong. And I understand better from her perspective why she stayed silent. I understand how it would make her feel like she had no place in the family. She had no control. And honestly, it would explain a lot of her behaviors when it came to her kids and the kids and her space. Because if you are questioning why you're even in a family to begin with, and you're hesitating and wondering why you're there, and you want separation from it, I don't think it's unreasonable for her to have an expectation that people not walk through her home, that she wants to distance herself from it because she needs her own autonomy, that she needs a place where she can be herself, right? I think there was a lot of entitlement in that They were trying to do things as a family, but they were all pulling away in different places. And I think sometimes because of the programming that they're going through, they weren't able to even have the trust to open up to one another. So you can't open up to your sister wife, because if you say something, they're going to turn around and tell Kody, and then you're going to get in trouble. So then you have to live in a world where you live on eggshells and with secrets, and you're not allowed to actually be yourself, and you don't know who you can trust. And if you do even confide in your family, they're also going to gaslight you and make you feel like you're wrong and that you did something and you just need to just suck it up and do more and be better and whatever. And I think, if you read Christine's book, she speaks a lot to her experience with Meri, and she has empathy to a degree for what Meri went through. But I really don't think Christine does, because if she had the full circle empathy, and she could view it like we do from the outside, Christine became like Meri once Robin entered the picture, right? So, Christine became jealous. Christine became the one that was harder to get along with. Christine became the more confrontational with Kody. Christine had struggles and couldn't hold up her emotions with Robin. There was plenty of times where she was very direct with Robin, and she would lash out and say things. And I know she also tiptoed around Robin, and I know that Meri tiptoed around Christine. But Christine wasn't doing anything wrong by behaving that way, right? She was reacting, and she was having her heart broken. But I think if she could put herself in Meri's shoes, she would see that Meri was the same way with her, And the one really sad thing about this cult is that because everyone is dealing with so much trauma and so much pain, they have a hard time seeing each other's perspective because they can't see beyond their own pain. And I've seen this a lot in other groups that I've dealt with, specifically a group that I worked on a documentary with. There was a lot of trauma with survivors and a lot of trauma with the survivors not trusting one another and not being able to see beyond the experience of them because their experience was so painful that it didn't matter what that other person's experience was, because that other person's experience was a detriment and painful for them too. So they had no empathy. And I think that's on purpose. I think it's by design. If everyone's in fight or flight mode and in a trauma response, it just creates a perfect environment for the person that's at the top to control them. So this is a lot to just say that, just because Christine says things about Meri doesn't mean that that represents Meri's whole story or even represent the truth, right? I'm sure that she had a lot of disagreements with Meri. I'm sure that Meri was hard on the kids. I'm sure Meri did freak out and yell. But I'm also confident that Christine probably did things too, that upset her. And she had to accept her husband having 6 kids with her, and had to accept her husband and her income being stretched out across all these other people that she didn't even know that she really wanted to be around. It's an unhealthy environment now that she is out and she had to lie to everyone. And that really framed how everyone in the world has seen her and how we've picked apart these women. And I'm not trying to compare Christine and Christine and Meri here. I think that if Christine and Meri weren't sister wives and were never in a cult together, I think they would be more alike than they're different. And I think that they would have probably be friends. And I think Meri's response of wanting to control her environment was a response to trauma. Because when you can't control your surround, you can't control what's going on in your life emotionally. You can do things like controlling what you eat, what you don't eat, or you can control how your house looks or how your things are and how you fold things, because that's what you can control. So Meri discussed how that impacted her. But she spoke about how now the fact that she did live that way and she was involved in that cult, it has really made her struggle to connect with men, because a lot of guys want nothing to do with it because of her involvement in that lifestyle. And this is another reality that I think is really sad, because anyone that's going to walk into this world and willfully date someone that has a television show and is part of a cult, it's a very complicated decision because the cult that Meri is from is very dangerous, and the men that are part of that cult are effectively sovereign citizens that don't respect the rule of the law, that regularly traffic in women and human labor and sex. And they don't care if they break laws by having illegal guns or even trafficking guns or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they don't abide by our laws. They don't care. They don't believe they have to. And there's a lot of lawlessness and abuse, and they don't believe they have to answer to anyone. And so when you walk into that kind of environment, you're walking into a world where there's a lot of criminality. And so some people don't want to be associated with it for that purpose. And it's sad because it's not fair to the person that leaves. They can't help where they came from, right? But the person that's walking into it has to be aware that they're going to be exposed to all of this. And they have to be okay with it. And I've talked to people that have married into it, and they were so naive not realizing how dangerous it was. And think of it like Janelle. She went over there to explore something, and look what she got sucked into. And then her family tried to pull her out, and they said she got into a cult, and she got involved with all these really bad people, and they cut her off. And to this day, she's still estranged from a lot of people from her family because of that. And, it's a complicated situation for this. It's very rare for someone to find someone like Christine did, where the guy is okay with it and understands it because his family had members that were a part of it. So yeah, Meri's full interview, I think, is really eye-opening. She speaks about her, relationship with Kody and their relationship falling apart, about how he's changed as a father and the dynamic between them today. And she doesn't say that she hates him. She just doesn't want to be with him. And she wishes that he would change things. But she doesn't want to trash him because she just wants to move on. That's kind of what she said. I think that's fair. Everyone has their place where they are in their lives. So tell me what your thoughts are, given this information in the comments below. Are you surprised to hear this? Are you not surprised? Let me know. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.